Hello folks, hope you're having a great day today. Today I'm going to take a look at Sailor on the Seas of Fate by Michael Moorcock, which was published in his Elric of Melnibity series. The guy with the sword named Stormbringer, whose sword is arguably more famous than the guy is. An iconic part of fantasy. Now this is my favorite short story or novel in the story, in the series. I just really like it a lot. So we'll take a look at it today. Now, it was the second novel that was written. I'm going to link you to my review of Michael Moorcock's first story, Elric of Melnibity. The first stories that he wrote were later, The Dreaming City, some other ones, that were later in his career after he had started wandering the Young Kingdoms and doing various fantasy things with them and helping people out and forming friendships, that sort of thing. But Michael Moorcock decided he wanted to start writing novels that were set in it, and they were going to be pushed back and be more prequels. The first novel is the origin of the story, which I just reviewed for you earlier in the series. Now I'm going to be taking a look at the second of those, which is The Sailor on the Seas of Fate. Now, The Sailor on the Seas of Fate is the second novel published. It was published in the later 70s after the first one was published in 72. Elric of Melnibity, so it could be published later, and it's going to be after he's published a lot of works in the series already, so he knows the characters. Now, one of the unique twists of the storyline, it's going to open up with him lost on the sea, and then he's going to be joined by this ship, and this ship can basically cross from one plane to another. Now, what's happening in this series, Elric is set in one plane of the multiverse. The multiverse, and this idea, that word, was all created by Michael Moorcock, by the way. And as a result, it has a number of these sort of planes that exist on it. On each of these planes is the same iteration of this avatar called the Eternal Champion, who is this Eternal Champion for sometimes good, sometimes good in the form of law, but law sometimes is not just necessarily good. And then for chaos, the central framework of his area is law versus chaos for y'all. So one of the things that he ends up doing is that he ends up creating this sort of world then where he's the champion, and there's this ship that's coming across that can kind of go from one plane to another, and it arrives, it's going to pick him up, and you're going to find on it this really weird number of things that are on the ship. Specifically, there are other versions of the Eternal Champion, 3 other ones, that include Dorian Hawkman from the Hawkman series I've already reviewed for you. And so you can take a look at Corum, and then the other one is Eric, the first Eternal Champion that he wrote when he was still a teenager in the 50s. So you can get who's a human from Earth originally before he's transported to another world. So he has these different versions, and they're going to be fighting this gigantic pan-planar creature. And the people that are powers that be are going to be bringing together multiple versions of the Eternal Champion, and then fighting with multiple companions, multiple friends, that sort of thing. So it's kind of this unusual story that takes place that brings a lot of these people together. It kind of feels like Doctor Who, like when they have an anniversary special and the Doctor meets like other doctors, and they're like, oh my god, this is not supposed to normally happen, but we're doing it right now because it's the 3 doctors and it's the anniversary special. The 5 doctors is going to bring back all 5 of the doctors, right? And that sort of thing. It feels kind of like that. We're going to have these different versions of the Eternal Champion. Oh my god, it's so much awesome. And it has that kind of a feel to it. And for that reason, I really like it. Somebody who's a fan of the entire series, as well as Elric, that makes this thus my favorite novel. It also plays with the genre too. He's not just having these independent stories that are told on these different planes, but it plays with his own multiverse that he's created. Michael Moorcock is never somebody who's prone or content to just, turn the wheel, spin the thing, and keep going, right? Even the things that he's created himself, he's going to do iterations on. He's going to do things about. He has called himself a bad writer with good ideas, which he'd rather be than a good writer with bad ideas. And so, he constantly will write against the popular tropes of the day. Elric himself was a pushback against the Conan trope in fantasy. The big, giant, burly guy, right? He's this tiny, little, frail guy who's only alive because of either the drugs and herbs that he's keeping and his potions, or because of the souls that he's bringing in from Stormbringer that will give him energy that will keep him going. Right, it's only one of those two things. And so you can kind of see that he is this very different person. And that's who Moorcock is, right? He's constantly writing against the tropes of his day. And he'll even do that for his own tropes, which I enjoy. And he'll push them. The idea is the eternal champion, the multiverse. All right, but now what would happen if you had a bigger event? So they probably have some way of coming together, these various aspects, which would not normally be allowed. So let's write that story. And I enjoy that. I enjoy that very much. So the ship will sail off on its quest, and then we'll follow our eternal champions and so forth along for the ride. Now, this story is, I have a copy of actually the original. I couldn't find it, though. All I could find was my copy of this collection when I was putting together my books for this series. But in this collection, it's like 100 and some pages long. It will not take you long to read like most of Moorcock's novels. It's not going to take you long to read, so you'll be able to pick it up, knock it out in a day, easy. It has 3 chapters in it, sailing to the future, the present, and the past. If you want to, you could easily divide up the book into those 3 chapters and just give it like an hour a day, each day, knocking it out in 3 days. If you wanted to do it that way, and split your time up so you can subdivide it very easily if that's what you wanted to do, if you just didn't have a lot of time to invest in it. But yeah, there it is, the Sailor on the Seas of Fate by Michael Moorcock, and I'll go ahead and leave you to it. Have you read it? What did you think about it? Did you agree or disagree with any of my thoughts? I'm happy to engage you with that further. If you watch this video all the way to the end and you enjoyed it, please feel free to hit that subscribe button. There's going to be so many more of these to follow. I've planned at least another 50 already. And then finally, I just want to thank you for taking some time from your day to watch the video. We all have such busy days, busy lives, and so many things happening. So the fact that you spent this time with me is very humbling, and I appreciate that a lot. And thank you so much again.